Hello, I'm Sahil Raman in Doha with a look at some of the stories that we're covering here on Al Jazeera. A former British minister has told an inquiry into the Iraq war that the then Prime Minister Tony Blair kept his cabinet in the dark about his plans. Claire Short said there was no real evidence to back the invasion and the US and its allies were unprepared to deal with the aftermath.
And I knew that the intelligence agencies thought Saddam Hussein didn't have nuclear, would if he could, but he was nowhere near it. And there were probably laboratories and people trying to have chemical and biological, but it wasn't saying there's some new imminent threat. Everything that's happened since makes me know that there was deliberate blockage and there were all sorts of secret private meetings, and all the normal systems of Whitehall are that meetings that might be relevant to your departmental responsibilities will always be minuted, and those minutes will be circulated. Phone calls with other ministers internationally or President Bush would normally be minuted in a letter and circulated. All those things closed down.
A trial has started in Paris nearly 10 years after an Air France Concorde burst into flames and crashed shortly after takeoff. Continental Airlines and 2 of its employees and 3 former French officials face charges over the deaths of 113 people. Alan Fisher explains.
The prosecution say a piece of metal fell off a Continental Airways plane onto the runway. That caused one of Concorde's tyres to burst. Debris from that punctured one of the fuel tanks. Flames came shooting from the aircraft. Both engines lost power. A crash was then inevitable.
Emma Haywood is at the courthouse in Paris.
We spoke to the Air France lawyer who said they're seeking compensation because they feel that their reputation was tarnished by this case. They, of course, were the operator of Concorde, and Continental, one of the accused parties, will be calling for the case to be dropped. They've hired a top French lawyer, a prominent French lawyer, who's expected to dispute that claim that the piece of metal caused the crash. He says he has evidence that will show that Concorde was on fire well before it hit that strip of metal.
And you can follow all of the stories that we're covering here on Al Jazeera by logging onto our website at aljazeera.net/English. That's aljazeera.net/English.